Hi and welcome to this video on identifying names, and in particular we are really just going to look at some rules that we need to follow and creating identifying names and some convention as well. So let's start with the fact that identifying names are case sensitive. In other words, you know my with that lowercase v, my with the lower uppercase v, or a ham with lowercase h, or a ham with uppercase h. These all are different identifiers. So identifiers as are a case sensitive. So you could write, one variable is a ham, one variable is a ham with a capital H, and you could use both of these in your code as a separate identifier. Really not recommended that you do so, at least not with the variable. There is a case where this might actually be useful when dealing with classes, but generally not something you should do. It can be pretty confusing if somebody is reading your code, so identifier must follow certain rules, and this should follow a certain convention. So let's start with the must first. So they must start with the underscore or a letter A to Z or a capital A to Z. Now this is actually a little trickier than in reality because you can use other character besides A through Z or A through Z, but you should be little bit careful about which one you use. It gets more complicated. You can use also Unicode character or not. That these aren't Unicode character as well, but I'm sticking to the ASCII set basically. So be careful with that. The easiest is just to say we will stick to A through Z for a letter. So they must have an underscore or a letter, and they can be followed by any number of underscores, letter or digit. So really the things here is that you cannot start an identifier with a digit. So don't try that won't work. So for example, myvar index 1, index underscore 1 are all legal names. Underscore var is legal as well. Double underscore var or a dunder var is also legal, as is dunder lt dunder. That's also legal identifier name. Now I have highlighted this in a different color, and I will explain that in a minute. But this kind of form of variable names by convention have a specific meaning attached to them. So the other thing too is that an identifier cannot be reserved word. Then what are the reserved words? So let's see. None, true, false, and, or, not, if, else, elif. You get the idea. Basically the keyword that you use to program in Python. Def, lambda, return, in, is, that we have seen before. Try, except, all, these are the reserved words. And as of your current version of Python, that's it for now. So there's not a whole lot to remember, but don't use those as an identifier name. So let's get to the convention. So let's take a look at what those conventions were, that ones I highlighted. So if you have a single underscore in front of the identifier name, let's say you create a variable in a module and you name it underscore my underscore var, because it starts with single underscore, it is a convention that is used to indicate that it that this is an internal or a private object, and there is no concept of private real in Python. Everything is public in Python. So basically we are saying that, hey, I want to indicate to anyone looking to my code or anyone using my code that they really shouldn't mess around with this variable. So I'm going to give it an underscore as my first character. So this is really just a convention. Now that happens though is that if you run, let's say, from module import star, so Python interpreter look at that and says, okay, you probably mean this is to be private object, so it does not import it. Now that doesn't mean you can't access it, but there are other ways to access it. Okay, let's look at the double underscore. And now the double underscore is used for something called name mangling. That we'll look at in detail when we do the object oriented section. And name mangling basically changes your variable name in a very set way that can be useful for inheritance chain. If you have the same name, let's say attribute, you have a property in a class and you have the same attributes in a chain of classes, then how do you differentiate which is which? And this is when the name mangling comes in. And so when you want that to happen, you use this dunder in front of the property name. For example, I will see that a lot more details. And last one is that starts and ends with the double dunder. Double dunder. So the dunder, my var dunder, that has a very specific thing, and these are really system defined names. So Python kind of reserves its naming convention in this way for certain things, and this has a special meaning to the interpreter, which means don't invent them. Now don't go and create your own variable that starts and ends with the double underscore. To stick to one that are predefined by Python. Now what are they? Well, there is a slew of them, and we all will see a lot of them throughout this course. But for example, you have the init method, to initialize a class, while that's the double underscore init double underscore function. And then when you create a new class, it will call that particular function and it's going to look for the function. Now the same thing happens. Let's say you have a two object x and y that are instance of you. Note that, say, some custom class that you have written and you want to compare them and you want to say x less than y. That's going to happen is that the Python interpreter is actually going to run this underscore lt underscore. The underscore is not visible, so underscore lt underscore. So this operator here actually gets evaluated by using this expression over here. And again, the Python will look specifically for this method name, and when it finds less than, so that's why these are the system defined. So what happens here, that the object x will call this lt function and it passes the y as a parameter. And so that's why these are the system defined, and don't invent some. you will never know that what could happen in future version of Python. Maybe whatever you decide to use gets used, and in the Python standard later, and then there's going to be a conflict between the two potential. So other naming convention, and this is just a very small extent of the PEP 8 style guide, and if you want to look it up, I really strongly suggest that you read it. It's not that long and it's very interesting read actually, and it's called PEP 8. Just do a Google search for the PEP 8 or a Python PEP 8 and you will get it, and I will show you the link. uh, uh, this is the link for the PEP 8. So this is how we name a different things like packages. So packages should be short names, all lowercase names, and preferably no underscore. So for example, you might create a package called utilities, right? Not everything is a lowercase, a single word, or and a no underscores. That's preferred style for naming packages. For modules, we also want short, all lowercase names, but they can have underscores. So for example, db underscore util would be fine, as would be db util in one word as well. Uh, classes is different. The convention is to use a cap word or a upper camel case, which means that all words are linked together. There are no underscores, but the beginning of each word is a uppercase letter, including the first letter of the variable. Functions, well, function should be lowercase and the word can be separated by underscore, which is called a snake case, right? So for example, open underscore account. So this might be method in your bank account class called open account. Variable should be lowercase, word separated by underscore, and snake case same as function. So basically, we follow the same convention for naming variable as we do for the naming function. So for example, account underscore ID, constant are all uppercase and all words are separated by underscores. So for example, minimum annual percentage rate, that is min underscore APR, would be a valid constant name. Now obviously you don't have to follow those conventions, you can follow your own conventions. You also may want to follow convention specifically if it's, let's say, an external interface that you are providing to you or to other people, and it may need to conform to what they are used to, in which case that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with the breaking way for the convention as long as you try and remain consistent within your code. But these are the best practice and they have been fairly well thought out. So it's really, I think I recommend to read that style guide or at least skim through it and see what the main points are. So you can find it at least this link over here. But again, easiest to do a search for a PEP 8 and you will find that link to that. There's lot of other things that they mention in that. So it's a guide, it's a style guide. It doesn't mean that you have to follow it, and you don't have to follow it all the time without thinking. Sometimes you want to break away from your convention for some reason or other. That's perfectly fine. The main goal really for all this is to make our code readable, and by following this is you make your code standardized in such a way that other Python developer that used to that guide will understand without having to go and look into your code in detail, that something written this way is constant, sometimes written in this way is class. So this could be a function names or a variable name, that's fine. uh, but it helps to really kind of understand how the code sometimes is structured. So thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, Like, press the like button, subscribe and share.